Now that we have the announcement for Generation 9, it turns out there was a teaser in Pokemon Sword and Shield all along. And did Junichi Masuda leak the next Pokemon for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Let's dive in. Yo, whoa, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka A-Drive. I bring you guys a brand new video today, and today we are jumping into the world of Generation 9, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and a ton of information regarding kind of some teasers that were thrown into previous games, Masuda potentially leaking a new Pokemon that could be appearing in the upcoming Spanish-based region, and much, much more. So you guys in for a treat for this one. Be sure to like the video down below, and of course subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, if you guys are excited for our Generation 9 coverage. I'm all aboard the hype train, and I'm very, very hyped about it. Also, if you haven't done so yet, you can check out teamshiny.com and check out some of our sweet merch and sweet swag. You guys can pick it up. We've got all sorts of great designs, and I know you're gonna look amazing in it. So check it out at teamshiny.com, and you can use code ARCEUS to get 15% off if you pick up 3 shirts or more. But let's dive in, because there's a lot to uncover in this video and a lot to break down about Generation 9 and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So this is actually crazy. The first thing we're gonna look at here, and this was reported by Centro, is this room from Pokemon Sword and Shield. And while it is kind of blocked off by the barricade, you can look into the other room and you see the wallpaper. And what is on the wallpaper? Oranges and grapes. And what is the symbolism in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? There are certainly some themes with oranges and grapes. They teased this back in 2019 when Pokemon Sword and Shield dropped. We've got a ton of imagery showcasing the importance of these, the different colors that the two trainers wear based on which kind of game you're playing represents those colors as well. And it's very clear that there's going to be a theme with these two particular fruits, the blood orange or just the orange, and the grapes. We talked about it a little bit. Maybe it's representative of the legendary Pokemon. Maybe it has to do with the two schools that maybe these trainers are from and they're competing schools. Maybe it has to do with something else, right? I don't know. But ultimately, we know that there is some sort of a theme here, and it's crazy to go back and look at Sword and Shield and find that they indeed did tease this on the wallpaper. This is not a coincidence. This was purposefully intentional, and we simply did not know that this was the thing until now when we have the information. Much like there was a Gigantamax Toxtricity poster in Alola that we found out turned out to be something for Sword and Shield. And we've had different things over the years where they tease the next generation in the previous game. It's actually mind-blowing, and I find it hilarious and just shows kind of the depth that they go through. You know, I think people are often very quick to bash Game Freak, but little things like this are so incredible in my opinion. Shifting gears, Riddler Khu, who kind of fed us a tremendous amount of information regarding the games heading into BDSP, heading into Legends Arceus. Well, it seems as though his source is still intact. However, he has made it clear, listen, my source gets to work every year in June. People who know nothing about localization act like game's coming out next month, so I should know everything as if I'm not legit. But who cares as long as I'm being an insider since Sun and Moon. So Riddler's been an insider since Sun and Moon. He's been giving us information for years and years and years, and goes to say, hey, listen, people are hating on me right now and saying I'm not legit after all the things I told everybody. You gotta wait. My source doesn't have access until June. Which makes sense, right? Localization, for those who don't know, is when the game is essentially set out to be translated and kind of adapted to the different regions. So that apparently is going to start in June for this title, as we expect the game to release in November. So it seems as though Riddler is pretty confident that he's going to have his same source, and that is going to continue to trickle in. So we may be in for a crazy leak season and a crazy hype season. So make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss it here, that's for sure. And kind of speaking on that same topic, I think it's worth mentioning when we look at kind of the timeline. This person, Figment, made this post on Reddit, which is really nice. They kind of looked at the Sword and Shield reveal cycles to see kind of when we can expect information, and I'll summarize some of this for you guys. So in February, they had the game reveal with the starter Pokemon. In March and May, they seem to be very, very silent in both March and April. So I would say don't expect anything in March and April. There could be something in May, like a legendary Pokemon reveal. Obviously, we got to get box arts at some point, which is going to indicate that. In May, we saw a trailer that showed the Alolan starters because they didn't show them when they announced Sun and Moon, but it also showed the box legendary Pokemon. There was no May trailer in 2019 because the starters were already revealed. So the real timeline we're looking at here happens to be June. In June, there was a trailer that showed off the legendary Pokemon and a new battle mechanic. For Sun and Moon, they showed Battle Royals, and Sword and Shield, they revealed Dynamax and Raid Battles. So that was the big one in June. So June is really kind of the next big bit of information you can expect. They also revealed Grubbin, Yungoos, and Pikipek in June, and Sword and Shield revealed Wooloo, Dreadnought, Gossifleur, Eldegoss, and Corviknight, the rivals and the Professor. So that was what took place in June. Now in July, there was a lot of new Pokemon. Sun and Moon gave us Tapu Koko and Charjabug and Vikavolt, Drampop, Bruxish, Cutiefly, Togedemaru, and Sword and Shield gave us Alcremie, Yamper, Roly-Poly, and Duraludon. They also kind of give us they might give us the full reveal with the battle gimmick, so whatever the kind of star icon is on the Japanese logos. And then they showed off some gym leaders and things like that. And then from there, things kind of happen every month. August, September, into November, they kind of would release new regional variants or new variants, new Pokemon. They talk about all sorts of stuff. Generally in August, it ties into the World Championship, being a reveal around that time, as we are going to get the World Championship this year finally. Maybe some Evil Team information, more new Pokemon, and so on and so forth. So this is just a very rough kind of guesstimate based on the previous timelines for Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield. I do think it's worth mentioning, and I think the poster here originally posted this as well, mentions it, that the Sun and Moon reveal cycle, they revealed so much information going into the game, whereas the Sword and Shield reveal cycle, they were much, much less about revealing. They kept a lot of things more secretive, so when the game actually came out, there was less that was kind of, I guess, covered or whatever. They really didn't tell us as much going into the game as they did with Sun and Moon. So which one of those two styles will they kind of fall somewhere in the middle? I don't know, but I would say at this point, don't really expect anything new until June. That seems to be probably a fair bet heading into June. I think that that's probably the most likely scenario. The next thing I want to talk about I find to be fascinating, and I think that you guys are really going to gravitate towards this and really dig it because I thought this was super cool. Ball Guy Leaks actually reports on this post from Portugal that says, when they were in Portugal, Junichi Masuda and Shigeru Ohmori thought that the Rooster from Barcelos, again, pardon my pronunciation, could make an interesting Pokemon. Will we see it in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? And it goes on to say, Atu actually had made some posts and kind of some people quoting each other and stuff, saying that just remember that Junichi Masuda was in Portugal in 2016 for the Portugal Comic-Con. Do you think he started the work on Scarlet and Violet with Shigeru Ohmori at this moment? And I know it's crazy to think all the way back to 2016 and say, wow, were they really working on Scarlet and Violet back in 2016? Maybe, but most likely not, right? They probably were just conceptualizing what the future of the franchise was going to be. But it's not that like unlikely or crazy to think that there was a chance that going back to 2016 Comic-Con, they were landscaping and looking around and diving into the culture of Spain and Portugal and surrounding areas to be the inspiration for what ultimately Scarlet and Violet is going to be, right? That's not that crazy. So this idea that Masuda really pointed towards this Rooster that can make for an interesting Pokemon makes me think that there is a realistic chance that we're going to see that, right? I think a lot of people have speculated we might get some sort of a bull Pokemon, maybe Tauros gets some love, but I think that this is fascinating that he was intrigued by this Rooster, and it could be the first sign of what could be a new Pokemon heading into this new region for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm excited. I think this is so cool. So it's phenomenal and fascinating, in my opinion, that Sword and Shield teased this game without us even knowing. And then, of course, Masuda and Ohmori going to Portugal in 2016 for Comic-Con, maybe being inspired for this game and maybe being inspired for some new Pokemon like a potential Rooster. I think that's going to be really cool to follow and watch over the coming months. As I said, I would not expect any new information until June, but our big source, the Riddler, seems to feel very much so intact with his previous connections to give us those leaks and those rumors as we head into hype season for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like the video down below, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new so you don't miss out on our epic Pokemon coverage here. That's gonna be that for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by A-Drive, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.